aspects in certain areas of the pharmaceutical industry that drug buying is down. Sure, they're making it up on the other end. Going to the doctor and psychotropic drugs and all that kind of stuff is on the rise. But other types of drugs are on the decline. So there is a slow shift happening. And we could get to the day sometime, in medical technology, if it's allowed to progress, we could get to the day where we actually, within our generation, many of you who are listening, within our lifetime, in the next 50 years, we could start seeing plausibility of people hitting the 120 to 140 year mark on a normal, regular basis. Unless, of course, Obamacare steps in and says, no, 70 to 80 is plenty of years for you. You think I might be joking about that? Folks, I'm telling you, the government is trying to run every aspect of our lives. And here, I know people want to probably hear what I have to say about the Joe Biden thing. We'll get to that. Biden isn't going anywhere. But here's by the way, I told you he wasn't going to run. But here is another I told you so. Now, I remember I've been railing against, laws for on people who drive. Sure, there are some safety concerns and some safety laws. Great, I get it. But as these laws that started to come about, you must wear a seatbelt. And then we started getting these old, no texting and driving, no using your cell phone or any electronic device at all while driving. That started to spread. And I said, all these, they're claiming it's a distraction, which is why, there's all these accidents. But the truth, insurance statistics show that the cause of accidents due to cell phone use is still extremely low compared to all the other kinds of accidents out there. It's extremely low. Now, I'm not saying that we can't improve on that. I agree we can. But to direct these laws at these issues that are not going to really make the roads that much safer, there is only one reason to do that, and that's to control how you live. And the reasoning behind the cell phone thing is, well, it's a distraction. And I have always said, well, hell, just having somebody else in the car talking to somebody, listening to the radio, eating could be a distraction. Going to the fast food store, grabbing a burger and taking off. All that can be a distraction. Well, then all of a sudden we got, in some states, if you're a new driver under the age of 18, you can't have anybody in the car unless they're a licensed adult. So you can't take your friends to the mall. You're 16, 17 years old. You're not allowed to have people in the car. Why? Because people are a distraction. Hey, I said that. And I have said that, one of these days it's going to be against the law for you to listen to your radio or to eat a burger or drink your coffee in a car while you're driving. And I know I had a lot of people poo-poo me on that. Oh, come on, Rod. You are just overstepping. Well, guess what? Here's an I told you so. And if you don't believe me, just go start listening to some of my old shows. I mean, there's a bunch of them I know, but you know what? If you want to be an ecclesiastic, you're going to go and get the archives and listen to these shows. Go back and listen to them. And especially on Blog Talk Radio. They're all over there. Here's a story from WND.com. Yeah, I told you so. Cop pulls over a driver. Now, wait till I'm just teasing you with the partial headline. Here's the rest of the story. A Minnesota woman was pulled over and ticketed on Monday morning of this week after she got on the I-94 highway, her regular commute. She says I was completely dumbfounded. I thought it was a joke, said Lindsay Krieger of St. Paul. Says I didn't even have enough time to merge up to the right speed limit yet, so I wasn't speeding or anything like that. And she was like, do you, referring to the officer that pulled over, she was like, do you know what you were doing wrong? Do you know why you were pulled over? Lindsay Krieger said, no, I have absolutely no idea what you're talking about. And finally, after asking me a few more times, do you know what you did? Do you know why you're pulled over? The officer says, I pulled you over because you were drinking coffee. It's against the law to drink coffee while you're driving. Sergeant Mike Ernster, Ernster, with St. Paul, the St. Paul Police Department, told the TV station KMSP Fox 9 the ticketing officer was absolutely correct. Inattentive driving relates to anything that takes your attention away from those obligations of every driver, which is to pay attention. So there you have it. Now, as I have stated before, in the state of Minnesota, and don't worry, it will spread. Anything that you do besides looking forward when you're driving could be construed as being inattentive and thus is subject to being pulled over and ticketed. That includes turning your head to talk to somebody in the front seat, turning around briefly like many parents do to say something probably nice or most likely nasty to their children in the back seat who are fooling around, looking down briefly to change the radio station on your radio dial, eating a burger, or drinking your coffee is a ticketable offense in the state of Minnesota. Folks, I'm going to say it. I told you so. And it is going to get worse before it gets better. It is going to get much worse before it gets better. It's amazing to, well, I don't know why it would be amazing that the American people would want their government to be so dramatically overbearing and interfering in their daily lives. Oh, well, but maybe that's why there's a push for the robot or driverless, human driverless car. It's just if you don't have to drive, then you don't have to worry about getting a ticket. Yeah, one of the things, and I said this would never, I heard this on the radio today. Toyota wants to have partially drivable, partially autonomous vehicles on the road for sale to the general public and on the road by 2020. So that's 4 years from now, basically. 2020 model year. That's 4 years from now. But we already have some cars that can, parallel park themselves. That's pretty cool. But so I'm not exactly sure what Toyota means by, semi-autonomous. I mean, parking yourself. Okay, cars can already do that. And maybe there'll be. Well, there are already some vehicles that come with cars that automatically brake if you get too close to another vehicle. There are cars that automatically slow down when you're going too fast. So maybe we'll see a lot more of these, and they'll add other features, to the collision avoidance. Maybe not only will will you be in charge of driving the car, but maybe in certain emergency circumstances, not only will the car be able to brake, but also steer. That may be some of the things. And the whole notion is there'll be fewer accidents. And, of course, when I heard this on the radio, I said, yeah, right, that'll be the day. There'll be a need for fewer police officers on the road. Yeah, no, they're not going to get rid of cops just because people won't be speeding anymore or disobeying the law on the highways because because some robot is driving you. That's not going to happen. We're still going to have as many cops as we ever had, if not more. They'll be needed. Well, they are currently needed in other areas, so they'll be utilized in other areas. So if your whole notion is to reduce the size of local police departments with these things over time, that's not going to happen. Not going to happen. And as a matter of fact, look, it's as many car trips as are. Driving a car, it is highly unlikely that you will be involved in a car accident. Now, they happen daily, I know. But you have to realize how many cars are on the road and how many people and how many trips are being driven on a daily basis. I mean, when you start figuring that out, it's kind of like flying in a plane. Serious plane crashes are so rare nowadays. That's why there's such big, huge news when, even one looks like it's going to happen. They don't happen very often. That's a good thing. That's what makes, air travel so safe. Trains don't derail all that often. And usually they derail only because, the person driving it made a mistake, like falling asleep and taking a curve too fast or something like that. But again, that's human error. So cars, considering all the trips that are made and all the miles that are driven, cars are getting from point A to point B in a vehicle is extremely safe. So it's not that a lot of time, I think I saw a statistic somewhere that almost 32% of all tickets that are written after the hour of 11 p.m. In other words, in most communities after 11 p.m., there's nobody on the road. So if you're doing 40 in a 30, you're really not endangering anyone. Seriously, but you're going to get a ticket. 32%. Are we really protecting society? Because there's I haven't found the stats, but I know this from the bottom of my heart. And if the stat is out there, I'll find it. Because I see it all the time, especially around here, where a particular road is built to say a certain speed limit, let's say 45. But the local fathers, local town councils and city councils, who are looking for additional source of revenue, even though the road was built to 45, they'll put the speed limit for no reason, for no safety reason, at 30. Now, naturally, the road was originally built for 45. The speed limit was originally posted at 45. Then all of a sudden, one day, people notice, or they don't notice, that the speed has been reduced to 30. And they're still doing 45. So people often wonder, well, geez, how is that possible? And nobody knows, because it's done basically because because somebody just wants money. That's all there is to it. You don't really get to do that kind of stuff without having a reason behind it. And the reason behind it, I'm telling you, is simply because of revenue generation. They're looking to generate revenue. Another way of instituting tax, if you will, on you and me. That's all it is to it. Plain and simple. But I'm here to tell you that the whole, there is no rhyme or reason behind a lot of these laws other than for two reasons. One, just to control you and me in our daily lives, things that we do every day. And the second is simply just because it's going to generate revenue for the coffers of your local government so they can spend. But then while they're spending, they can tell you, well, we're not taxing you all that much. Well, tickets